Welcome to JOEYCTV, guys. So today I've been planning on putting out a video, and I've been thinking of all different things I could possibly do, and it's a long time coming. It appears to be a long time coming. I feel lately God's kind of touched my heart on some things, and I'm 54 years old now, and that old saying, I wish I knew then what I know now, right? And wanted to talk to you about not only ghost hunting and my experiences with ghost hunting, but my experiences in life. And I really believe that God's touched my heart and soul to tell my story, to share my story, for the betterment of not only myself, but for you guys to give something back. And I also thought, where do I start my story? How did I get here? Why am I sitting in this abandoned house today? What led me here? So I want to talk about some of those things, and there'll probably be lots of cuts and edits, and quite honestly, I don't know if this video will ever see the light of day. But again, I feel God's touched my heart in such a way, and crazy thing too, I wanted to share with you guys as well. This house that I'm in, you're familiar with it because, quite honestly, I filmed it a few times. But it's really where I feel comfortable doing these types of videos, even these real talk videos. Whomever's in the attic, and there is somebody in the attic, dropped their credit card out of the attic when I was walking in. It actually fell out of the attic, so they must have been crawling up in there. They're being really quiet, and I brought food for them. So I don't have the right to tell anybody to leave here, and at the same time, they don't have the right to tell me to leave here, but whomever's up there, I'll give them back their Cabela's credit card, and also leave them some food and water. So I guess I wanted to start my story with the ghost hunting side of it, I guess. When I was a kid, I know that God's really kind of always been tapping me on the shoulder. And I was a nerdy kid when I was really young. I was but I was happy, I was just a nerdy kid that liked my Hot Wheels Matchbox cars and riding my bike around, and I really didn't care to be, with the cool kids. I was just kind of happy just being, nerdy kid. And I remember the first time that I felt God in my life, and how I felt God in my life was, I remember a couple of kids in my neighborhood that were, this is when I lived in New York, were kind of bullies, and I was kind of a shy, quiet kid, but they were outside with a slingshot shooting birds, and I remember there was an injured bird in front of my house, and I came out and he was ready to shoot it, and I stopped the kid from doing it. And this was a kid that always kind of intimidated me when I was younger, and the bird was dying. I mean, he was, mortally wounded, but I put the bird in a shoebox, and I remember feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, and I kind of knew that, that was God with me that day. Just a weird feeling, I knew that God was with me and gave me the courage to go confront not only the bully, but to save the bird. And well, the bird died, but it was the first time I learned that, to overcome fear. And I was a tough kid. I knew how to fight because my dad taught me to, but at the same time, I was just a nerdy kid as well. Never really never really bothered to ever be a bully or anything like that. It wasn't something that was ever part of my makeup. It just wasn't there. I also remember living, I have 2 older sisters and a younger brother, and living in New York, I remember, I some of this, I'll just, again, I don't want to point fingers or anything, but there was somebody who used to watch us when we were younger. I'll leave it at that. And I remember, as a kid, growing up on Long Island, moving around a little bit. I remember distinctly, like, this person taking like locks of my hair and my sister's hair, and then I started like having like nightmares as a kid. I didn't know my sister was as well until later on, but I used to hear like in my house like voices calling my name, and I always thought that this person like did something to us, like some kind of witchcraft or something on us. And I recall that very, very vividly, very, very well. And then I used to hear like in my head, like a voice, like an evil voice, like saying, like F God and F this, and later on in life I found out my sister also was going through the same thing. And I remember this person who took care of us later on became a very very religious person, oddly enough, which I'll touch on that a little bit later as well. What's real in ghost hunting, what's not real, what I found as well. I want to talk about those things as well. Fast forward my life, and later on I would always hear voices at my grandmother's house in the Bronx. And whispers in my ears. And it was like a kid or something talking to me. And I'll never forget that. And, I later on found out my sister as well was going through the same type of stuff. Fast forward my life, I've always thought that God had something to do with my life, in the sense of like, it was always, like I mentioned earlier, tapping me on the shoulder, trying to tell me, hey, don't worry about things you worry about, or I got you. And I always seemed like I feel in my life I fell short of that. Like I'd ask God for something, and then, I felt God always, was like, okay, and then I, as a human being, falling short. Which kind of ties in everything. So again, if I'm being a little long-winded, I do apologize. But this is something that I felt inspired to do. College years. So grateful and so thankful, and I probably had one of the best experiences in college as a kid. I mean, every kid's dream come true. I was in New York. My parents had moved to Florida, and I basically lived in their house. They paid all the bills. I had a brand new Z28, and I was, just going to school. It was unbelievably cool. And I had a friend, Tim, and he was in a lot of my classes, and he was somebody that I became friends with. And Tim was a great guy, unless he had some drinks in him. Then he was like trying to fight with people constantly, and he'd fight with you if you were there. I mean, it didn't matter if it was me, But I was always one to stand up to him, and he was just a big guy, man. I was just a scrawny, skinny kid, really, and but I would stand up to him, and when he got drunk, but I always avoided him because of that. But back then there were no cell phones, so he'd call me on the landline, and I didn't have caller ID or anything, so if you got him on the phone, he would kind of corner me and be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I always knew that going out with Tim, you know, would lead to a fight that night. And you know, we were getting kicked out of bars we were going to, and you know, I'm guilty just by being there, or I had to fight because he's fighting with people, and I can't just let him fight, you know, alone against more than one person. So anyway, he gets me on the phone one night, and he's like, hey, you want to hang out tonight? I'm like, oh man. So I'm like thinking in my head, no, not really, because I know we're going to go out somewhere. We're probably going to go to one of the college bars or one of the clubs, and you know, it's just going to be a fight. However, I reluctantly agreed, and you know, we had plans to go out that night. So anyway, he calls me up and he goes, man, I can't make it tonight because I actually have you know, my girlfriend's in town from out, you know. And if anybody knows New York schools, there's the SUNY school, State University of New York, and they have schools all over Long Island, upstate New York especially. So anyway, the SUNY schools, his girlfriend went to another SUNY school and was coming from upstate back to Long Island that night. So he's like, oh, I can't really, you know, hang out. And I was like, okay, you know, then I'm kind of like relieved at this point. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm just relieved. So anyway, he calls me back a little bit later, and he's like, hey, she has a friend with her. And I'm like, dude, you're not setting me up with anybody. It's just not going down like that. And anyway, that person that night did show up, turned out to be my first wife. So, and our ideals were really different back then. I remember I wanted to be a writer so bad. You know, I just loved words. I loved the way words sounded, and it was magical. And I loved to read, and you know, we just had all these things. And you know, how I knew that that you know, I fell for her was at that time in my life was, you know, I was dropping her off. She flew in to see me on a little charter flight. You know, it's a little airport called MacArthur Airport on Long Island. And when she was flying out, it snowed that night. I mean, it snowed so heavy that the world seemed so peaceful, like a white blanket over everything, just quiet. And I dropped her off at the airport, and at 1 in the morning, the only people there. And I remember sitting there waiting for her little charter flight to, you know, to board. And after a little while, a guy came in with a kid, and they were sitting kind of, you know, diagonal from us, the only other people that we could see in the airport. And well, I remember her like writing a little note on a paper, and she handed it to me, and she's like, oh, look, I wonder if one day you'll be a good dad, and I wonder if we have a boy, we'll name him Joey. And then I remember her like shortly thereafter, you know, getting on to board the plane, and me walking down the hallway, and again, windows on both sides, lots of snow, and I looked over back, and she, you know, I had tears in my eyes, so did she, and I was like, damn, man, you love this girl, you know. Weird how there's talking in here, and I don't think it's the person in yet. Anyway, our ideals were very different at that time, and we wound up, you know, we got married, of course, obviously, and you know, we lost each other in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways it was a lot of selfishness. And I'm not pointing at anybody else, I'm pointing to myself. A lot of selfish on my part. I don't want to speak for anybody else. There's always two sides of every story. So at that time, when, you know, regret sets in, and there's a poem by Snodgrass that I always think, that always chokes me up, because he talks about, man, there's definitely something going on around here. talks about going like a divorce, and how he keeps a picture of his ex-wife in his wallet, how it got him through the war, and how he's raking leaves in his yard, and when he comes across this picture, he references it like turning up a severed hand. It's shocking, and he talks about before the regret, before the resentment, and all that stuff, and then at the end of the poem, he puts the picture back to, he says, well, I'll keep the picture when I need it. Anyway, touching on different points in my life, that brings me to what I need to talk about as well. Inspired by God, I feel. So we let a lot of resentment set in. Both of us made some really bad choices, and by the time we were divorcing, resentment became pretty much the so bad that it was like a relief. We forgot about our ideals, and never gave myself that opportunity to both being stubborn, to try to correct the situation. That point really changed my life forever, and I'll tell you, divorce and having kids, it's rough, man. It still is. There's so much that I missed. Having kids on the weekend just doesn't really do it. But I got married again, had more kids, and so thankful and grateful for them. It's amazing, and once again in my life fell short of maybe what I should have been, or again, I'll never speak for anybody else. Speak for myself. So I left myself really kind of lonely. It's so hurt. So hurtful to not see your kids every day, and my two oldest kids are grown, and I miss so much. My two youngest, I'm missing a lot there too. But circumstance at that time kind of left me, probably rightly so, in a position where I was alone. I remember a home, the house, just became this empty shell to me, Which leads me to the ghost hunting. So again, I kind of specifically talked about parts of my life that I thought were really pertinent. And then hey man, stay in there please. If you need help, I'll come help you. Just don't approach me, okay? Sorry guys. So at that time, I worked with Rob, and at that time, he needed my help, and I kind of needed his too. I was living in this house, and Rob was kind of going through his things. And again, I don't speak for anybody else, but at that time, it was perfect, to have him move in and rent one of the rooms for me, and kind of have a little bit of ease on both of us, and And we started doing the films, and we thought about doing workout videos, and it just was an occupying our time thing, I think. And well, crazy as it is, we started filming abandoned places, because when I was a kid I used to come to places like this with my friends. We never vandalized any of the places. I just always thought it was really cool to check out abandoned buildings, see what's inside, you know. Anyhow, this is going to be my gift to you guys, that I feel is inspired by God, to me, to you. We realized when we were filming these places, I think we really picked up some crazy attachments, and we didn't think about doing ghost hunting at all. Never even crossed my mind. It's just the places we were going to, like one of the first was the Frank Lloyd Wright house. We were so excited to find it, and when we finally got there, it turned out that, we picked up, we played music through the whole video, which was stupid, but we thought, hey, this place was creepy when we left. There's something about it. I don't know, did it seem haunted? We were like angry, and we left there frustrated, and couldn't really put my finger on it, but people were saying, hey, there's talking in this, but you put music in it, so we can hear the talking over the music, but what's going on? So we realized that when we'd go in that place, in the Frank Lloyd Wright house, that we'd pick up stuff, disembodied voices, like calling us like shitter, and just all different things. And we started going to like Hillside Estates, and there was a time we went there and the door started slamming, and Rob was throwing up, and this is creepy as hell sitting here. And we realized that there's something going on here. Then we had a video we did, and we picked up like some voice. I was mentioning how moldy the place was, and it was like Class A, full sentence EVP stuff saying, breathe it in, breathe it all in. So you become captivated by this. You really do. It becomes a captivating thing. Which is kind of like, I guess you can reference it to, like, let's say alcohol, for example. First it could be very inviting and make you feel good, but then you need more to get your good feeling out of it, and then more to get a good feeling. Before you know it, it's slowly sucking your life away. It's overcoming your life. Kind of like ghost hunting. So, as you know, we staged videos, and I want to talk about that too. We did stage videos, but I think that we never really were dealing with ghosts. I always thought like that it was something evil, and I think that sometimes the ghosts pretended, or these demons pretended to be ghosts, or pretended to be loved ones. And even when we were staging videos, there was a certain element of it that was playing along with us while we were doing it. Crazy as that sounds, there are videos that, even though there was an element of us staging them, I really believe there was some kind of like demons there. And again, I'm not speaking for anybody else, or anybody else's thoughts or anything. I'm speaking for myself, and I'm not singling out anybody or anything like that. You can make your own decisions. I'm not here to do that. I'm talking about me. So I think that when I do these videos now, I think that, yeah, there's some kind of attachment or a familiar spirit that will go along for the ride. Or you got yourself so vulnerable that there'll be things there no matter where you go. That's my thought process. Like even now in this, I'll probably hear voices. Now again, I want to reiterate, there is somebody upstairs being quiet, they're moving a little bit, but there was talking in here while I was talking as well. That I know for sure. What that is, I think it's something that tries to consume your life. And I'll tell you, if you're not careful, it can. And it's the little subtle things. It's not like a demon jumps out, you know, holding a pitchfork and breathing fire. It's that little voice that slowly, slowly tries to diminish you. And if you're not careful, you could fall down that trap. Just like alcohol, it'll be inviting and take you in. But before you know it, you could really get lost in it. And that's the danger of doing these videos. So I wanted to talk about that. So, leaving urban ghost, urban exploration. So, I do apologize for some of that, because some of that I left the heavy on, and I realize that now, but I left the heavy on people. I was like, look, I was telling Rob, I was moving on with my life, and I needed the change in my life, and I so desperately wanted my family life, and I felt I was losing that. So I did kind of leave the heavy on Rob, but at the same time, to clarify some things, when I made that decision, I relinquished everything of the business to Rob and Kate. Never took another dime from Urban Ghost or anything like that. As a matter of fact, really did it out of my heart for them too, because I wanted them to flourish and take the helm of that channel. We had just talked about it a couple weeks before about, hey, listen, we staged some things, and so I felt the door of opportunity there was open to go be pursuant of whichever way Rob wants to go and keep the channel, and I wish them all the success in the world that they can achieve from that. Would I have done things differently now? Yeah. Hindsight is hard, because just left a lot of speculation what happened to Joe, and I just really wanted to have my private life be just private and different, and quite honestly, a lot of people speculate where I am now, and to be honest with you, I'll leave this at this, and Stacy's a wonderful person. There's no doubt about it. Sorry about that. This camera has 30 minutes and then it shuts off. So, where I was leaving off, I know that a lot of people ask about Stacy and I, and to be honest with you, I really don't want to put there's certain elements of my personal life I want to put out there, and which I talked about in this video, and there's some things I don't. I just want to say she's a wonderful person. Stacy is absolutely a wonderful person, and there's nothing that I would say bad about her or anything of the such. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope that you guys respect that as well. So leaves me here now in my life, right? Where am I in my life right now? I'm thinking about all these things, and I thought, what were some of the things that I had to deal with ghost hunting, and of course decisions I made in my life and where I am now. Some of the things that I wish I could have changed, and I remember so vividly when my brother-in-law passed of cancer, and not being there, it killed me, for my first wife. When you lose a marriage, you lose more than just your spouse. You lose the people that are with them too, and so it took a lot of hits in my life. There's a road over there, people are speeding around. So today, here I am, doing these videos, and why I do them still is I love them. I think we pick up crazy stuff. I think that I think that you got to be careful for what you wish for, and I wouldn't recommend ghost hunting to anybody or whatever you call it. Or, it's dangerous. There's the risk of picking up an attachment. I don't believe it's a ghost. I believe these are demonic things. And I believe they'll try to trick you that they're ghosts, that they're family members, that they're, you know, and I don't think that's really the case. But I'll continue doing these videos because I love it. It's fun. It's my creative venue too. I love being creative. Each one of these videos is wow. This is even talking in here around me. It's creepy as hell. What I was saying was, you know, keep doing the videos. They're fun to make. They're creative. They're like a poem to me. Each one's like a poem. Remember, I was telling you I love to write my whole life, you know. And as scary as they can be, to me, it's still fun. But I have a different perspective on it now. To shoot the videos and enjoy them and move forward, different direction in my life. Gonna really focus on changing my mind. Turning a lot of the things that I made bad choices on into good choices. I think that's what God gives you, you know. I think that's the beautiful thing about God, beautiful thing about Jesus and the faith I have is because no matter what pain you're in, I believe through Christ you can always change that. There's nothing under the sun that hasn't been done that, you know, God can't help you with, in my opinion, you know. I wish I made different decisions in the past. Who doesn't, right? Everybody does. Some of the drama stuff that I got involved with, I wish never happened. But I did, you know. And I'll never do that again. So where does this leave me? Pretty humbled, actually. I've been working on mind, body, soul, getting my body back in shape. 54 years old, it's not like when I was younger and I'd go to the gym for hours, you know, but I'm still doing it. Still doing it. At the end of this video, I'll put some clips of some fails and, you know, hey, there's nothing I feel that God can't do in my life or I can't do, and I know the law of attraction too. What I believe is what the outcome of my life could always be, and I'm older, wiser, yeah, you decide. But at the same time, I wanted to give everybody this talk, and 2023, you know, let's make it a great year for everybody. I wish everybody many blessings. The truth about ghost hunting is that I think you're dealing with demons. Whether you're staging videos, whatever you're doing, the influence is there. So be blessed, everybody, and I'll end this I usually start with a prayer, but I'll end with a prayer. And Jesus Christ, thank you for not only humbling my heart, but I'm so grateful to you, grateful for everything I have, and I'm sorry for the times in my life that I made bad choices. I'm sorry for the times in my life that I could have done better. But I'm sorry also for the times in my life that I wasn't grateful for what I had. And I thank you. Thank you so much. It's my asking of you, Christ, that if there's people out there that need help, that you help them find a way to. I'm always thankful for my humble heart, Lord. And I will leave some food and water for whomever is in the attic, please, as well. Help them. Thank you so much, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Talk to you off. Got to get back this credit card. And all right, guys. Thank you so very much. Go in love and peace.